Hey friends, Rob Phoenix Hexameister here. Hope you're all doing well. It's been a couple days since I made a video, but life and such. I was conversing with someone earlier today, and she had said, "Oh yeah, I was initiated into powwow when I was a kid," and I said, "Oh, initiated? What do you mean by that?" And she had said that she went through a ceremony where a relative, I guess, passed on her powwow power to her. And I found this to be interesting because to me that sounds like she passed on the hexerai to her. It sounds like maybe the relative was a hex, because that's kind of how it is in Pennsylvania German culture. Is a hex needs to pass on her power so that she, like, to a living relative, so that when she dies she can rest in peace. Um, in powwowing and general Brock work, there's no such thing as an initiation. That's not a thing. However, I know that there are, like, in magical lodges and such, there are sort of like dedication, initiation rituals and such with, and even in some, like, things where, like, modern witchery stems from, like, the Golden Dawn and the Masons. Both of those really inspired, like, what we have as modern Wicca now, and they were initiatory. And so this idea of, like, initiatory traditions where they go through a ritual and initiate into, like, first degree, second degree, third degree it's a modern invention. It's not an ancient thing. Um, because the idea of, like, a witch within a coven and a tradition, practicing all the same things and rituals and stuff, is entirely modern. It's brand new. That's not a thing that existed in history. Um, but I can tell you that when I was a part of a witchcraft tradition, I went through initiation rites. There was a dedication which, like, introduced you to the group and welcomed you in. And then after that, there was first degree initiation, second degree, and then finally third degree. And I remember getting my third degree. Everybody knows I was formerly a part of the Black Forest clan here in South Central Pennsylvania. And so I had my third degree ritual right in Silver Ravenwolf's dining room. And she did this thing during the ritual where she put her hand on top of my head and her other hand at the bottom of my feet and said, "From my hand at your head to my hand at your feet, I give to you all that was given to me." And, like, it was just, I guess, this sort of energetic transfer of power or something for a few minutes. And then all the other third degrees that were in the room, like, piled on top of me basically and put their hands on me and, like, I guess, transferred power to me in some way, shape, or form. And then, while as a member of that clan, I then went on to do this with other new third degrees. Um, Drama in life occurred, and I'm no longer a part of that tradition. However, um, initiations are kind of an interesting experience. They're a physical experience because they mark your, like, growth, almost like getting your belts and your stripes in martial arts. They mark you as progressing to a certain degree and another level, so on and so forth. But there's also a spiritual element to it in that it represents a turning point in your life where you've reached a certain stage in your life and you're ready to move on to the next stage. Because I remember my initiation rituals, well, my initiations to various degrees absolutely sparked the beginning of various changes in my life. And so there was power to that. There was truth to those. The reason I'm talking about this is because the person I was talking to earlier had said about being initiated into powwow, and that has never been a thing, like, initiation. So, like, anybody I teach, that, if you want to be a powwow, then you are. That's just how it works. It's just, um, I shared with you some of the things I know, and if you use them in your life, then you're a powwow. Congratulations. We need not go through any kind of ceremonial situations, nothing like that. Um, Even back in the day of like the cunning men and women who were the ancestors of powwowing, they would just learn these things on their own. And maybe there were spirits or entities that they contact and gained more information from, but largely this stuff, it was just learned on their own. If they could read, great. If they learned some stuff in their family, that's fantastic. But their practices and such, they developed on their own, and it is what it was. And some of those, oldsters and the cunning that were cunning men and women may have taught an apprentice or two, but certainly that was not really an initiatory process so much as it was just sharing the information and passing it on. Because every person who takes up the title of a powwow or a hexameister, we all have some commonalities, but we're all kind of doing our own thing, and that's the way it should be. It's what you feel called to do. It's initiation isn't, it's not a thing in powwow just because we don't have a formalized, religion. I mean, we are Christian, and that's the extent of it. That's as far as it goes. Whatever kind of Christian you are is entirely up to you. And we are Christian insofar as we work with Jesus and call upon Jesus and worship God or believe in God, and that's our worldview. But it might not be the same that you see in the Bible or the same worldview that you're going to learn in a local Catholic or Protestant church. We're kind of like free agents in that regard. And yeah, even the devil may have a role to play in our work. It's just the way it is. I've been reading a lot of Roger Horn's books, and I've been reading The Witch's Devil. And what's really interesting is today, this afternoon, after having that conversation earlier with that person who was initiated, I was reading through one of the chapters. This is a pretty new book for me. And he says, right here, the overwhelming majority of the accounts of initiation in folklore involve only the witch in question or the witch in communion with the devil or other spirits present. The position of one hand placed over the head and another under the foot itself suggests the lack of other attendants in bodily presence. This is a rite of passage with no other participants, at least on a physical level. And as soon as I read that, it was like a brick in the face. Like, that's exactly what I experienced. And so, but it was on a physical level. And I do think there were some spiritual elements involved. I'm probably not making sense because anybody watching these videos might be strictly adhering to Christian folklore and folk magic, and that's okay. But when you have like kind of an interesting and varied life like I have, there are all kinds of things at work in my life. Like, I recognize and fully embrace the fact that, I was fully initiated as a traditional witch, and I now embrace those aspects of myself where I spent years trying to deny those things about myself. And I interweave those with my powwowing work, and that's what makes me a hexameister. And that's what a hexameister is. It is a powwow, but also someone who is trained in sort of the darker stuff, witchcraft, witchery. Creaky door with dog coming in. So anyway, there are no initiatory rites unless it's something you experience on your own. So if you're working with, well, not even working with, I hate saying it that way, but praying to God, and you're praying and you feel like Christ is at work in your life, at some point you come to a realization of something. Something changes in your mind, in your heart, in your life, and you see things more clearly. That's a rite of passage. That's an initiatory experience. And no human can give that to another person. That's something only you can experience. Humans can only recognize that you have experienced it and maybe make a celebration about it, but that's something that's all done on you, one-on-one. I hope that makes sense. So if you feel that you've been like, you've experienced some sort of spiritual revelation about your powwowing work or whatever, that was just for you, and it's not meant for other people, nor should you judge other people by that standard, because especially when it comes to magic, it's like we're all different. While I have had literal and actual initiatory, like initiation rituals and such done, and even the witchcraft group was claiming to be powwowers. That's not where I got all of my powwow information, knowledge, experience, and skills. Um, so I can never claim that I've actually had like powwow initiatory experiences, because I have not. Uh, However, I have had revelations with my work. I have had bursts of inspiration and aha moments that may be comparable to an initiatory experience. So if you're coming to me for learning, there won't be an initiation. There'll just be me talking to you, giving you information, and then it's yours to do what you will with. And you will be, if you choose to be, you will be a proper powwow. It doesn't matter that it doesn't even matter that you've been taught by somebody. Don't let people tell you that you must be like a man must train a woman or a woman must train a man. Like, those are old, sort of old timey concepts that in this modern day and age don't really mean a whole lot. Like, yeah, if you're female and you come to me and I teach you, great. Then you can say that you've had that proper, like, traditional experience, but that is not required, because most of what I do, I either learned on my own or learned from many, many, many different people, or from books or whatever. It just is what it is. So anyway, that's my rambling talk about the initiatory experience. Um, if you have questions about that or experiences with that, leave it down below so we can talk about it. But if you come to me for training or whatever, uh, there is not an initiatory experience. It's just me sharing the information with you, and then you are fully able to use that in your life as you see fit. So hopefully that was informative. I don't know. It was on my mind, and I spent 12 and a half minutes yapping about it. So that's it. New week starting tomorrow. Thanksgiving's almost here. So God bless you guys. Love you. We'll talk again really soon.